It's a record I get tired just thinking about, the Appalachian Trail speed record. The nearly 2,200-mile trail stretching from Georgia to Maine takes most people about 6 months to hike. But Brookline resident Joe McConaughy just ran it in 45 days, 12 hours, and 15 minutes, the fastest ever. Now, to put that in perspective, that's an average of 48 miles a day, and he did it unsupported, as they say. That means without any outside help along the way, just a 25-pound pack on his back. For the finale, he covered the last 110 miles in 37 hours without sleep in, as you can see, some of the finest late summer New England weather you could ask for. He was greeted at the end of the trail by his girlfriend and family, and after what I can only assume has been a month or two of sleep, Joe joins me now. Congratulations.
Sleep and donuts.
You look like a normal person. What's that about? I mean, I expect you to be a skinny, little, scrawny guy. What happened?
Well, my trail name was String Bean.
I know.
I guess is String Bean, yeah.
You've been eating since you got back?
Yeah,
okay.
Too much.
Yeah, let's start with the why. Why?
Yeah, great question. Too real of a question. No, it's honestly a challenge that I've kind of had my sights on for a few years. I did the Pacific Crest Trail in 2014, and that was a totally different ballgame. I had a crew. I did it as a charity event, and it was this really awesome, culminating experience. I was doing it right out of college. I had no ultra running experience. And then this, it's just an amazing adventure and experience that I'm going to keep with me for a lifetime, and I'm so grateful to have had that.
You and your girlfriend, I read, did a lot of preparation and, what you should ship, so you could be unsupported, what you shipped, where, what the food should be, that should support you. Where were you most wrong in your planning?
There were a few times where the resupplies didn't work out.
Meaning it wasn't enough, or what?
Yeah. Well, what happened, the worst one, because you kind of can't plan for the worst, right? So I was going in the White Mountains, and this was actually one of the biggest crises I had on the trail. But essentially, I hurt my left quad, which caused my left IT band, hamstring, calf, and ankle to all swell up and get inflamed. And most of that went away in a day. But the knee stayed, and the hamstring injury and the ankle injury stayed. And essentially, I was going for 6 days when I had planned food for 3.
And what did you eat when you did eat? What was like the number one food? I read it was Oreos. Was that a joke, or is that really?
No, that's real.
Oreos?
Yeah.
Double filled, or the single?
They should have been double filled.
And is that because there's so many calories in it? Is that
all calories?
How many calories a day?
Anywhere from 8 to 10,000.
Were there days when you say, I read, wasp bites, you saw rattlesnakes on the trail. I mean, you're alone for significant periods of time. Yeah. Were there moments when you said, this is not happening? Or did you feel the whole way? You felt the whole way, I'm going to be able to do this?
Yeah, crazy enough. I'm a very resolute person, and it worked out. It was a lot of pushing through things, but also you enjoy it, It's like everything you do. There are high times and there are low times.
I've read a lot about you, and one of the nice things, the naive assumption I had, which was obviously moronic, is essentially for 45 days you're by yourself. That's not true. You encountered lots of people along the way. Share a story or two with us about some of the people who helped you make sure you could get from here to there in the time that you hoped to get there.
Sure. So part of it, you meet so many incredible people, and anybody through hiking, like anybody who does a through hiking experience, they'll have the weirdest, funniest, most random stories. I met this guy named Red Fox. Everyone has a trail name. His name was Red Fox, and he had lived in like a few different parts of the U.S., and he was going to be a geologist, essentially, where he was going to like find gems in the wild after he got done with the trail. And that was his plan, to move to Colorado once he got done with the trail. He was from Georgia and moving to Colorado. That was it. And he was just the funniest guy. And I met him actually in a huge, huge downpour when the whole trail was flooded and was maybe anywhere from an inch to maybe 5 inches deep in water. And we just had this huge, crazy life talk. He ran with me for 8 miles. He probably had, my pack, I carried with me what I needed, but his pack was a normal through hiker pack. So it was, maybe 35, 40
And
pounds.
the camaraderie, I assume, is pretty important when you're doing this for a month and a half under these extreme conditions. The last 110 miles up to the top of Mount Katahdin, 36 or 37 hours without sleep, beyond the fact that I don't understand how a human can do that. Isn't that dangerous? Obviously you're a pretty fit character and then some, but isn't that dangerous? Not only going without sleep for a day and a half, but going without sleep and taxing your body in ways that bodies were not intended, even a well-trained. I'm serious. Do you not worry about those kind of things?
Not too. Well, there were a few things that I did worry about, and honestly, I was a little nervous because of that knee injury I described. I was about 10 days out in the White Mountains, and it stuck with me for the rest of the trail, and an ankle injury. Advil got me through, but honestly, it was weird. It was the best running I'd done in 10 days, that final stretch. I don't know what happened, but a lot of things just clicked. Maybe it was the finish, and it was knowing that the experience was about to be over. But it worked out well. I was a little nervous on the top of Mount Katahdin because we summited late in the day, and it gets really, really nasty up there. I don't know if you have any clips or anything from that, but it's crazy.
70-mile-an-hour winds, I heard, when you got there, or something like that?
It was wild.
So I learned a term, which I didn't know when I was expecting to meet you, FKT, fastest known time. Yep. You had the FKT for this thing. Let's assume you finished the 45 days, and you didn't have the FKT. Yep. You ended up being the second FKT, fastest known time. How would you dealt with that?
Who knows?
No, I'm serious. I mean, was doing this or was doing it better and faster than anybody else? It was the latter, right?
That was the goal, right? And I think if I didn't come away with that, I would have been very. You spend so much time and effort and focus and months planning for something like this. I like to think that, and I'm probably naive in thinking this, I like to think that I would have been okay not having been the fastest person to do it, as long as I gave it everything I had every step of the way.
But you suspect you might not have been.
Yeah,
okay.
so it worked out.
What separates someone like you from, I shouldn't say, but someone like the rest of the world? I mean, the vast majority of us can't even conceive of doing something like this, even though I assume most of us admire people like you. What is there in you that separates you from the generic me, not just me?
You should ask a scientist. Who knows?
No, really, what is it? You must have an idea of what drives you that doesn't drive.
Very, very, very persistent, and you have to want to execute a plan and stick with that almost under any circumstances, right? There were a lot of parts where my knee was the size of a grapefruit, and I'd never had that kind of injury before, and I have to recalibrate and say, well, I need to still succeed in my goal of covering as much ground as I can, but I can't push myself to the same limit, and I need to recover. So you need to have that kind of intrinsic ability to handle those circumstances and big challenges, and also a lot of training and ultra marathons and stuff that have gone into it.
Okay, I just read this guy ran up Everest in 22 or 23 hours. What's next for you? I mean, that's just, what's next? Seriously, what's next for you?
I'm focusing on ultra marathons, so more. Ultramarathons are still wild and crazy. Don't have any long trail plans in the near future, although I do plan on doing some shorter trails.
Are you as normal as you appear? You appear totally normal.
I think I'm a normal guy.
I love that.
I have a job. I have
do.
a girlfriend, believe it or not.
Like a normal person. Joe, it's a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations. It's really unbelievable.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much. Good to meet you.